play.
Hello, guys. Welcome to the next ATP Weekly. It's probably going to be, during Wimbledon, we're not going to have them, but of course, we're going to have different shows for you. You were probably expecting Mario as well, but he had an emergency. But we have a substitute. Hello, Srihari. Thank you for coming in at this very late request.
Yeah, all good. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, pretty excited for tomorrow. Wimbledon's beginning, and the draw seems pretty interesting on, especially the top half of the men's draw, and I should say the bottom half of the women's draw as well. So, but in particular, um, I sort of wish that the top half went first, but then obviously Wimbledon has a tradition where
Yeah.
uh, the the player who is defending champion is the one who opens play on center court. But but as very objectively speaking, the top half of the men's draws very exciting, especially the matchups that are there. In one particular, the Medvedev quarter in the first week, a lot of interesting matchups, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think before we get to this, and I think we'll just go about the draw like section by section, etc. But we also should mention just briefly Eastbourne and Mallorca, which finished, since this is the ATP Weekly show. In Mallorca, we had Christopher Eubanks as the champion, and he's now in the top 50, which, how does that sound to you? Christopher Eubanks is a top 50 player.
Yeah, well, I've seen him around for a while, but mostly only during the Sunshine Double because he usually
Mhm.
either gets a wild card or he makes it there somehow. Especially last year, I remember there was this match he played against Cressy where Cressy shanked his serve and it was an ace. I think that was Eubanks who was in that match. But yeah, we've seen him around for a while. He's probably um, I think he's what 26, 27 now. But the way he played in Miami, you would think that it's not really surprising that he's now an ATP tour level champion. He had a pretty good run there, losing to Medvedev in the quarters. But yeah, I think he's also a really tall guy. What is he, 6'7" or 6'8"? So yeah, I think we have not seen much of him. But then the story, his story in general is pretty inspiring, and I think he did play some really good tennis, beating the likes of Lloyd Harris and Manarino, who have been playing well on the surface. Lloyd Harris, especially, sort of coming back to form after his injury woes, and he beat Manarino pretty convincingly, which is also pretty impressive win. All things considered, because Manarino is a menace for a lot of top guys, especially having beaten Medvedev as recently as 2 weeks ago. Um, so yeah, I think that that was a pretty impressive win for him in Mallorca, and of course Cerundolo winning in Eastbourne as well. Um, I think he was, what, set in two breaks down against McDonald in the semis, and then for him to win the title from there was really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Eubanks, honestly, I'm kind of surprised that it happened on grass. Like, his ground game usually just looks a lot better when he has a bit more, when the height of the ball is just more comfortable for him. But again, like, it's grass. Sometimes you just need the big serve, and you're gonna pull through. As he said, five match points against Lloyd Harris. I'm actually, I'm very glad that you mentioned the South African as well. Manarino was injured in the final, like, had some knee, I mean, something with his leg, basically. Someone on Twitter yesterday, in the sort of destroyed form that Twitter is right now, someone in the comments told me yesterday that Manarino has had some issues with this for like the past 2 or 3 weeks. As far as I know, it wasn't really hampering his movement like it was in the final. So I guess that's something we'll probably mention later on when we're talking about the Wimbledon draw. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, Chris Eubanks definitely, like, I felt over the course of the off season that he is probably playing like the best tennis that he's ever done. I was not expecting him to get to the top 50, certainly. It kind of feels much to me, honestly.
Yeah,
But
because it just
that's
happened.
fine.
All of it happened pretty quickly. Like,
Yeah.
say with Karatsev, for example, having not even been in the main draw for Grand Slam, and then he was like a top 15 player in no time in 2021. So yeah, a lot of things tend to happen a lot quickly, I think. But yeah, the biggest test is whether how long he stays there and how he does as a top 50 player. Um, and I'm not sure where exactly he's placed in the draw for Wimbledon, but
Plays
yeah, I'm
Monteiro, and then in the second round, cannot remember. Someone
Right.
pretty good. Like the first
Okay.
round, of course, is really good for him, but the second, I think it was. Oh well, we'll get to it for sure. Anyway,
Right. Okay.
oh, it was like
Yeah.
it's like Nori, the Nori Mahach section and Korda. So yeah, he
Oh,
like
okay.
has some chances there. Let's say that.
Right.
Yeah, great guy. Of course, he's done a lot of work commenting on commentating on Tennis Channel as well, and well, everyone says that he was excellent there. I did not
Hmm.
actually get to hear him, but that's what people say, and yeah, delighted for him for sure. Very very rapid progression because even back in back before Miami, he was outside the top 100. He
Hmm.
actually had a couple of like very disastrous losses coming into Indian Wells in Miami, and it seemed like he might miss that top 100 opportunity that was there for him this year. And yet he does this, and of course, right now, yeah, let's just see how he fares when he plays there. And for at least a year, he has his ATP Tour future, basically safe. So that's good. And yeah, also Francisco Cerundolo, you also briefly mentioned him. Yeah, that semi-final comeback against McDonald's. I think this is something that in a few years, if Maki doesn't end up winning an ATP Tour title, that's something we may be looking at as like the
Yeah, that's
moment when
true.
he had his chance. There's also
Yeah,
that
it's
match
also
against Sinner, of
Struff. You
course,
have
right?
a
But
player like Struff who didn't take his chance when
uh-huh,
it was in Stuttgart, right? He had
yeah,
championship points. It's kind of crazy to think that these players have, Struff especially, has not won a title at the ATP tour level, because he's especially he has been so good, at Grand Slams and even other Masters events, causing all of these upsets. He's beaten some of the best players in the world. He's troubled some of the best players in the world. Um, yeah, and Cerundolo and Paul have some sort of rivalry going on this grass season. I think Cerundolo did beat Paul in Queens the first round, if I'm not mistaken. And then yeah, he didn't obviously beat him in Eastbourne in the final, which yeah, I guess it's a pretty good win because Tommy Paul is a guy who can play on all surfaces. Um, yeah, he has a game to pretty much unsettle anybody on any surface, really. And Cerundolo, it's really nice to see him have these results on grass, because we know how good he is on clay, and the results he's had on clay this year so far. He had good results in Barcelona, in Rome, and also RG made the fourth round, lost a pretty heartbreaking fifth set tiebreaker to Holger Rune there. So it's nice to see him uh, do well basically, and also climb up the ranks. He's now what, top 10, top 20 player, right? So that's pretty cool.
yeah. That's actually like I wasn't even aware of this, but Cerundolo and Paul have played 3 times, all of them on grass. Eastbourne,
Right.
Queens, and Eastbourne, which is just crazy, given how
Yeah.
short this part of the season is, and also the fact that you wouldn't really think of Cerundolo maybe as like the best grass courter out there. However, of course, he showed he can do it. He also had that 1.5 sets, I would say, against Nadal at Wimbledon last year, which was pretty
Oh
insane.
yeah.
Clearly a guy who, like, if he's firing, it doesn't really matter what surface it is. He's moving
Yeah,
great,
that
he's returning
forehand can
great
do
as
damage
well.
on any surface,
uh,
really.
yeah,
Uh,
like if the forehand is clicking, it's just going to be
yeah.
good whatever the court is. So
Yeah.
yeah, fantastic round for him. He has like huge ATP tour results right now on every surface. He only lacks an ATP tour title on hard, but he has that Miami semi, Miami quarter also in another year. And yeah, just brilliant for him. Also, Tommy Paul was a bit hampered in the sets 2 and 3. Two might
Mhm.
seem like weird for you because yeah, Paul was sick. Paul won it 6-1, but that's where
Yeah.
the issue started anyway. And
Yeah.
yeah, let's see if it's like an any sort of problem for him at Wimbledon. Maybe it was also caused by the fact that they had to play the semis and the final on
Mhm.
Saturday at Eastbourne.
Yeah.
Although for Cerundolo it was just 4 points, and Paul actually had to
Mhm.
play his match from
Yeah,
start to
exactly. He was
finish.
5-2 up already,
Yeah,
at the start of the resumption. Um, but yeah, I guess yeah, maybe that would be the case, but then I don't think it's something to worry about maybe long term, because enough days would have passed for Wimbledon, and fatigue is not really something that's too prominent when you're playing on grass. I think
yeah,
that would occur for over days, as opposed to clay or some of the hard courts. So yeah, that we'll have to see, but obviously not to jump ahead, but they're also in the same section of the draw at Wimbledon, so we might have a fourth meeting between them,
grass court
again
beating
on
again.
grass.
Jesus,
Yeah.
that would be unbelievable. I wonder
Yeah.
if there's like any other head to head on the tour where the
There's
players, have
Felix
met each other
and
three
Humbert.
times.
Hugo Humbert. They
Felix
played
Humbert,
thrice. Yeah, they played thrice. I
all of
think
them on grass.
once in Stuttgart, the other in
Uh,
Wimbledon, and in Halle as well. So all three levels basically.
huh.
Yeah,
That's pretty crazy. I
yeah,
guess four would be very hard to come by. So
Mhm.
Cerundolo and Paul, we're looking at you to do that. And yeah, maybe let's just get to the Wimbledon draw then. Of course, this is like the
yeah.
main chunk of this show,
Mhm.
this
Yeah,
time at
well, we
least.
had two tournaments the last week. A lot of yeah, you probably already would have covered Harley and Queens, which are
Yeah,
much
yeah,
more
yeah.
eventful just because
Yeah,
of
yeah.
how many top players and a density of top players over there in both tournaments. So yeah, I guess we could get to the Wimbledon draw. It's pretty
Yeah,
exciting.
I will ask our production team if there's a chance, like, to show us the
Right.
the like the first section of the draw, maybe, or
Yeah,
how,
right.
yeah, how this looks. Starting from the top, how many of them can you actually show us? This is just okay. Yeah, the production team is working on it, and I guess they will be just following us along. So at the top, Carlos Alcaraz. What do you think about his draw and like his prospects? What are the dangers in the first 3-4 rounds? And
Danger would
yeah.
be Rindernesh, who pushed him the most in
Hmm.
Queens. Almost beat him, I would say. Also,
Yeah.
just a quick mention. This is Shardy's last tournament, and very likely his last match on tour as well. Um, so there's that. But then Rindernesh Mueller, I've not seen him on grass. I've seen him play. He made a couple of quarterfinals, I know, in Doha and also somewhere on clay, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was
Final in
He was in the
Marrakesh,
final.
even
Final,
final
right?
in
He was in the
Marrakesh.
final.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, on grass, I mean, it's not really a surprise that you haven't seen him. He only
Mhm.
played like last year and 2021, and it was
Mhm.
not a great sight generally.
Yeah, I mean, you would be the encyclopedia, for a lot of
No,
these
I
players.
mean,
You
I'm
probably
not
would
even
be.
sure if I'm not
Mhm.
even sure if I've seen him.
Right.
On grass, it was
Yeah.
just a few matches,
Rindernesh.
and the results were.
Yeah, Rindernesh, because I mean, we know that he pushed Carlos in Queens. Took Chapo to 5 sets last year, who's 2 sets to one up in the first round. So another typical, what do you call, kind of grass court player who, has a big serve. I think he's pretty good at the net as well. So yeah, he can do well. He could potential danger. I can see him again, something about French players that it's so unpredictable. You just don't know when they'll lose him. They might be looking good and they end up losing the first round. They're quite what do you call, mercurial in that sense. I guess Rindernesh is one of them, but I expect mostly, unless some miracle happens, it's Alcaraz and Rindernesh. So that's sort of a danger. I think Deminor is Alcaraz's fourth round opponent
Yeah,
potentially. I don't see much of an issue there for Carlos. Uh, or should I? I don't know. I think because Deminor almost beat him in Barcelona, and I guess he is pretty good on grass. We'll never know. I think they did play recently, and it was pretty convincing for
yeah,
Alcaraz.
Queen's final. Yeah.
Oh wait, that was the Queen's final. Yeah, my bad. So yeah, I think yeah, that was a pretty comfortable what 6-4, 6-4. So anyway, that's a better look of the draw. You can basically get the entire top section. Right. Zverev, uh, again, that I would say has a good enough draw to maybe make it the third round. Berrettini and Sonego, it's a repeat of their first round in Stuttgart. I wonder how that would be because that was a blowout and Berrettini left the court in tears and he hasn't played since. So that I wonder what happens there. I'm going with Sonego for that, but then yeah, I guess it would be nice to see Berrettini back in the mix just because of how good he is on the surface. Wimbledon finalist, Queens winner twice, also won Stuttgart twice, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he's really good on the surface. Also, right. Oh yeah, Hugo Humbert is another pretty tricky customer if he gets to the third round against Alcaraz. Um, he's also pretty good on the surface, Halle champion. So yeah, I think the second, I should say, the second section of the top half of the draws where it's stacked with Medvedev and Tsitsipas, and also Tsitsipas team and Murray. Only one of them will make it through to the third round. So yeah, I think if the producer could show us the second next section of.
And yeah, let's just maybe stay of
Mhm.
haven't really said anything about the Alcaraz draw yet. Well,
Okay,
I would have to agree with Matthew that I don't think it's a tough draw for Carlos at all. Like I would be shocked if
yeah,
he
I don't
doesn't
either.
make the quarters. To be honest with you, as he said, he played the Minor and Queens. It's clearly not a really tough matchup for him. Alex the Minor against top 10 opponents against high caliber opposition generally has his issues. He has to play kind of out of his skin, and it's tough to do that. It's tough to do that against Alcaraz in the final. And Queens, I would even say that the Minor played that maybe like more typical grass court tennis. However, the power of the serve and forehand on Alcaraz was just too good, and it was just way too much for him. I would say that Rinderknecht, I don't think he'll be an issue. He Alcaraz, when he played in Rinderknecht in Queens, he was moving so poorly on the grass, and then it's like
Mm.
night and day in the rest
Yeah, that's true.
in the rest
Actually,
of
yeah,
the event.
he didn't
Yeah,
lose a
and you
set
have
from
best of
that.
five.
That's true.
Yeah, and you
Mm.
have best of five here. Like it's not really possible, I think, for Rinderknecht to trouble him there. I do think that it's going to be Alcaraz Rinderknecht. Yeah, Miller. I'm not even sure if I've seen him on grass, but it doesn't seem like he would have the game for it.
Mm.
As Sean is saying, the Miner kind of has to, yeah, playing the forecourt a lot, try to just maybe take the racket out of Alcaraz's hands, but it's hard to do with his play style. And yeah, he
Yeah,
just
that's
needs
true.
to play something that is not natural for him, and I don't think he's gonna do it. There was also a comment about Zverev. Why is everyone assuming Zverev doesn't face Carlos? He's never been that good on grass, and I think the draw is
Yep.
actually really tricky. Brouwer, it's just a big serve, but we'll see how he does there. But like Husler or Vatanuki, these guys can easily beat him, I think.
Yeah,
Both
Watanuki
just
especially. I mean,
mhm,
I know he pushed Hurkacz in Stuttgart, and
yeah,
he can play pretty well. A lucky loser, so good for him. But yeah,
both
like you
phenomenal
mentioned,
serves.
hmm, yeah,
Lots of like high risk, high reward tennis. If they're actually on their day, very easy can do it. Husler with the lefty
yeah,
bomb,
he
of
just
course, and like the
thing is he's just
angles
not
and
comfortable
mhm,
on the surface. I know he's made
yeah,
two finals in Halle, but other than that, he's not just not done anything of note on the surface. And he mentioned, someone like Zverev, who's usually is like ambitious in press conferences, and he talks about how he wants to win. When he was asked, "Oh, do now that you're getting closer, do you think you would? What do you're finally in a position to win a slam?" He said, "Not at Wimbledon because it's grass." So this is a guy
ooh,
who just no, yeah, he
ooh,
did say that he's not confident on the surface. He doesn't like playing on the surface. I mean, apart from the serve, really, I don't. There's nothing. People just look at the serve and say, okay, yeah, he should do well on grass. But he's someone who likes to have time uh, on his shots. He doesn't like getting low, which you have to do quite a bit
yeah,
on grass. Tsitsipas, another guy who you can see him struggling so much with the much lower balls and not getting as much time. He feels really rushed. So that's something. Yeah, if it would be great for him if he gets to the fourth round, really, because I just don't see, with all of the players there, I don't see him making it to week two with that draw.
yeah. It's gonna be pretty hard for him for sure. Like it's not impossible for him to play Alcaraz, but at the same time, I don't think he has any chance of beating Carlos on
Mhm.
grass. And also, yeah, if he has to beat Hüsler or Vatanuki and let's say the Minor or even Sonego in the third round, I doubt Berrettini will be a factor because he just didn't seem like he was ready in Stuttgart. But like if he
Mhm.
has to beat, yeah, these guys to get to the fourth round, we cannot really say that he's the favorite to make it there. And
Yeah.
you also mentioned, of course, Humbert. I was just really disappointed with what he's done this grass season because
Mhm.
especially with how good he's been on clay this year, which was quite a shock and definitely something that has changed in Ugo Umbert's career. And then he
Mhm.
goes to the grass and uh, just especially that loss to Peniston in Queens. I know that Ryan has done wonderful in both the last two editions at Queens, right? But it's just not something that should be happening to Ugo Humbert. At the same time, even last year when Ugo Humbert was struggling, he was like really just down on himself. At this point of 2022, he still made round three at Wimbledon, and he was still actually playing quite well there. So maybe
Yeah.
he's like the toughest opponent that Alcaraz could face on the way to the quarters.
Yeah.
Jari, I know people will be looking at him, but I think to me he's like one of these guys who obviously the serve is going to be huge, but at the same time he doesn't really like the low bounce whatsoever, and is actually way better on clay or like a slower, well, even a faster hard court, I would
Yeah,
say.
he can be
So
dangerous, but if he plays well. But then you would expect Carlos to beat him anyway. Well, yeah, I guess he's the one who's most likely to play Alcaraz in the third round. But Ugo, I don't know if he gets there. It would be interesting because he's really good on the surface and he can mix things up. He can, you take time away from Carlos no matter what the surface is, and that's when he starts to sort of spray a lot of unforced errors. You take him away from his comfort zone, and that's something you have to do for a prolonged period. And on a best of five, I don't know if there's anybody here who can really do it. Um, Maybe Holger Rune is a pretty interesting draw because he has most likely Arnaldi in the second round, who is again sort of been having some good results this year. I think he made uh, he made he made the second round at RG, but he did beat Casper Ruud in Madrid, and he another big server. So maybe Grass would sort of help his game. I'm not sure. Holger did pretty well in Queens. I would say I'm just a little disappointed with about that loss to Diminor in Queens because he's a player who he's had almost in Acapulco. I think it was the semis, and then he just started
Yeah.
cramping and he lost from there. But yeah, I think just game wise, I expected Holger to sort of translate pretty well to Grass. Who else? Artur Fees. I think people are not talking much about him. I have him beating Fokina in the first round. Um, it could happen, um, but yeah. What do you think about Tiafo? Because he won Stuttgart. He's probably having the best couple of seasons of his life. So what do you think about his chances here with this draw?
Yeah, I liked his chances a lot more without the draw. Just because, he has to play Bingwu in the first round,
Mm,
obviously like a amazingly talented player who's wild, who's erratic, who's inconsistent. But when he actually, manages to get some rhythm going in this match, he can be dangerous already to TFO. And Striker or Popperin in the second round, I think particularly Striker, like that's just so rough when it comes to the opening two rounds. That's probably one of the worst draws worst first two rounds draws that anyone got at this Wimbledon. So just for this reason, like Dimitrov seems like a safer pick to go to round four from this, because yeah, Dimitrov, it just seems like it's so easy for him to just get to the last first stage here. Like if they actually played Dimitrov Tiafoe, it's like a 50-50 for me. I'm just not sure Tiafoe is even gonna get there, but yeah, that's only because the draw is so tough on him. And
mhm,
you mentioned Rune, of course. I think he probably still needs like a couple more years of grass to be a threat to Alcaraz, to be a threat to Djokovic at Wimbledon.
mhm.
However, you could easily see him going deep here. As you said, he was good in Queens, finally getting some grass court wins. I do think that Arnaldi is going to be very tough for him, though.
Yeah.
Maybe like Arnaldi seems like a clay quarter, but as he said, he has a pretty big serve. In the qualifying, he played Yuncheng Shang in the opening round, which was just a nightmare draw for both guys. Probably two of the strongest players in the qualifying. He survived barely. He was down a set in a break, but after that, he was just in like cruise control all the way to the end. I don't think he was really pushed because, well, the opposition also wasn't that good. He played Federico Gallo and Federico Ferreira Silva, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I think he is actually going to be really good on grass with the improved serving, with how much more aggressive he also is right now. And yeah, Arnaldi Runa is a match that I would love to watch. It's a match that we are like 99% sure to get, it seems. Like
Yeah.
I just don't think Arnaldi can really lose to Carballes by on grass.
That's
Feels
true.
I'm not so sure about. He qualified for Queens, was supposed to play Alcaraz, then withdrew. We'll
Mm,
see about that. But also he has like this ultra heavy topspin forehand, and I'm not sure if that's gonna be like easy to take that to grass. He
yeah.
definitely has like a super aggressive game, so maybe he just figures it out very quickly and just actually plays it more flatter and just handles it. We'll see. But yeah, Davidovich Fokina feels definitely should be closer here than at Roland Garros, where Davidovich Fokina was just too good on the defense for like a slightly gassed version of feels. This time it's way more even. But yeah, this section of the draw is definitely a lot more open. Maybe yeah, just for fun, like who would be your pick to make it to the quarters from this, like from Tiafoe to Rune and yeah, all the other guys.
From that, yeah, I want to say Holger, but there are a lot of roadblocks. The players who basically have troubled him or can trouble him. And yeah, like you mentioned, is he's barely played on grass all career.
Hmm.
I mean, definitely, if you compare him and Alcaraz, Alcaraz has more experience for sure, having won a title on Queens no less, at Queens no less. So, uh, yeah, I think Dimitrov has a great chance, like you mentioned. He could definitely capitalize on some seed stumbling, Tiafo mainly. Holger should get to the fourth round. Maybe. Uh, I think I'm gonna pick Holger, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Dimitrov. It's one of these two for me who would make it to the, and obviously, if I think it would be Alcaraz on the other side of the section.
Yeah, as I sort of hinted at, I'm just going with Dimitrov to meet Alcaraz just because he has like such a good opening draw, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Shimabukuro is probably tougher than Ivashka or Korea right now, but still
right.
nothing that Dimitrov shouldn't be able to handle. And like this year, Dimitrov has actually been insanely consistent. Like when he's losing, it's just to guys like even the recent losses: Alcaraz, Zverev, Jari, Djokovic, Alcaraz, Deminor. Sorry, Deminor was a withdrawal, so he didn't even lose to him. But like Lehechka, Sinner.
True.
Kubler is a retirement, so I'm not really counting that. Bublik, Medvedev, Djokovic, Tsitsipas. So
Yeah, that's true.
basically, like the worst player he lost to all year is Lehechka, Bublik, Jari, something like that.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
yeah.
Yeah. So you would like his chances. But yeah, I think I think the fourth round may most likely would be Dimitrov and Rune. I think Dimitrov is just more comfortable on the surface than Tiafo would be, and I can see him taking out Tiafo if Tiafo gets there. So yeah, either Alcaraz, Dimitrov, or Alcaraz, Rune. I'm personally hoping it's Alcaraz and Rune because we only have two matches between them. But
Hmm.
would hope for a lot more between these two.
Yeah, we'll get
We
more,
we've
but it
had
would
quite
be
a bit of
nice if we already got more. Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah, maybe we'll ask the production team then to show us the
Yeah,
second quarter now. The production team I see is okay, yeah, yeah. The production
there
is
it is.
there, is there. I wanted to say he's there, but that would be a mistake. Of course, it's a full-on production team. Yeah, and we have Daniel Medvedev's section. You also hinted earlier that like that you were excited for it. And yeah,
Yeah,
what's so exciting about it? And is he going to make it to the quarterfinal?
that's a very interesting question because you have Greek Spur potentially in the third round. Manarino, I mean, you just mentioned that he picked up some injury or he has a few niggles physically. So I wonder if he'll be fine for Wimbledon or if he goes out in the first round to Shevchenko. I don't know what to expect from Shevchenko on this surface. I mean, he was pretty good. He pushed Hubi to the very limit
Yeah,
in Dubai when they played. He pushed Medvedev to the limit as well. I think he also pushed Sinner to 3 sets in Rome. So he has been troubling some of the best players this year, or like just top 20, top 15, top 20 opposition in general. Um, right. Also, team and Tsitsipas. I guess neither player really likes the surface, to be very honest. But then it's just popcorn a popcorn match just because they're such big names in the sport, although team still sort of in the process of rediscovering some of his best tennis. I mean, I do look back to that Madrid match that he played against
yeah.
Tsitsipas himself. If he won that, was that the moment where the floodgates would sort of open for him again, because he did lose. I don't know how he did in Rome, but I know that he lost in the first round to Pedro Cachin, Djokovic's first round opponent here,
He didn't
in
play
5 sets.
Rome. He
Right.
chose to play Mauthausen instead, a
Oh
challenger in
yeah,
Austria.
right,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, I just wonder, but then again, I don't know if even if he beats Tsitsipas here, would it really mean much, because you don't expect him to do. Yeah, it really wouldn't, right? It's much different from had he beaten Tsitsipas in Madrid. Andy Murray has a pretty good chance to make week two. I would say. I think he beats if he gets he. I expect him to beat Peniston, and I also expect him to beat Tsitsipas or team whoever gets there. Because I mean we know about that U.S. Open match that he played against Tsitsipas in 2021. Could have very much won that in straight sets. Then they played in Stuttgart last year, which he won in straight sets. So I think on grass, I do think Murray has a great chance to beat Tsitsipas, probably 4 or 5 sets. But um, yeah, I can see that happening, and just the fact that you can see a lot of these seeds sort of tumbling or having difficult encounters just before they get to the quarterfinals just makes it so exciting. Medvedev could get Greek Spur. Greek Spur again has been playing really well this year. I think he picked up 2 titles, one on grass and also I
Pune
think he
at the begin.
Hurkacz
Pune
yesterday.
at the beginning of the year.
Right,
No, yeah, I thought you were talking. Okay, never mind.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, he beat
he
Hurkacz in
beat
Halle. Yes, yes.
Yeah, he beat Hurkacz in Halle. Pushed Rublev 3 sets right after. Uh, so yeah, he's been having an excellent season, and that's no surprise that he's seeded as well. So yeah, I expect him to get to the third round, considering how he's been playing. Um, then there's also, like we mentioned, Cerundolo and Paul. Could happen again. You would like Cerundolo's chances to make the fourth round. Um, and yeah, Thomas Mahach, again on grass. I don't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
He pushed Djokovic to 7-6 in the third in Dubai when they played. He played really well. He also, I think, he made the round of 16 or quarters was in Houston. If I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he is a pretty good player, but we've not seen much of him because he just loses quite a bit in the qualifying. So it's nice to see that he qualified for the Wimbledon main draw. Medvedev also qualified. I think not a lot of people are aware of this, but Djokovic is the one who is funding his career basically. So it's nice to see him qualifying as well. Again, O'Connell's a really tough first round, really rough first round to get. I think he is. I'm not sure.
I think Medvedev might be the favorite there, even. But
You do?
that's yeah.
Because O'Connell again has been pretty good this year. He beat Zverev, and he also pushed Medvedev in Doha. He again, again single-handed backhand. I think he has a pretty good serve as well. And yeah, he's really good at the net from what I've seen. But I've not really watched much of Medvedev, so I'm not sure. But I think uh, yeah, if you say he's the favorite, I'll just take your word for it.
No, no,
But
no. I mean,
what?
for the bookies, he's not. But just with
Uh-huh.
with how his serve looked in the qualifying, I think this is a perfect like matchup for Medvedev, where he just comes in and he will be the one in control of everything.
Right.
I don't know if he actually, manages to get it done. He had a pretty
Yeah.
disappointing showing when he qualified for Roland Garros, and he also had some back issues in the qualifying. But I am
Hmm.
counting on the fact that 5 days have
Right.
passed. He was
Yeah.
like basically looking, just out of energy when he played Berankis in the second round. Then he
Hmm.
beat Billy Harris in the third round, took a medical timeout, but like Harris was just not good enough to take advantage. I do hope that he will deliver this time, and he just has some crazy power, sloppy footwork, really sloppy, but like yeah, the way he was serving in the qualies, it was
Yeah.
just pretty insane.
It's
Matthew
also.
wants to, uh-huh, yeah.
Mhm. Oh no,
No,
I
Matthew wants
saw
to
a
know
comment.
about the guy that Paul is facing in the opening round. Mochizuki won Wimbledon Juniors 4 years ago. Does that mean we should be expecting him to beat Tommy Paul? I think barring injury, not necessarily. Like he definitely has some excellent touch and feel for the ball, but when you overpower him, yeah, he can look kind of dire. I think the best example of that was, of course, when you win Wimbledon Juniors, then they give you a wild card to the qualies. In Mochizuki's case, it was 2021 because the 2020 edition wasn't held, and he beat. I think maybe it was Gaston in the opening round, or anyway, he played a very good match. Yeah, fantastic at the net, and then he lost in 46 minutes to Grigspor. I think that's more or less what we can expect from Mochizuki. I think it's just going to be very hard for him to play someone like Tommy Paul, who probably can overwhelm him.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, bearing the injury that happened, I think. Yeah, there's also like one guy that you didn't really mention, who is Sebastian Corda, and I think he's like
Yeah, I
everyone's
was
dark
about to
horse.
actually mention him.
Ah,
He
you were
plays
about
Wesley.
to.
Um, Again, that's tough.
Yeah,
Wesley's pretty good on
it is.
grass. Um, but yeah, I'm just wondering how Wesley made it to the main draw because I think he's ranked really low. So did
Protected
he sort of
ranking.
protect the ranking? Okay, yeah, that thought as much because eh, it couldn't have been a wild card or qualifier, so it's probably that. Um, oh, Damian just left. Let's hope he's back. But yeah, about Wesley and Corda. John's here. Okay,
I can join you
just
while
covering for
Damien is
Damian.
out.
Yeah.
I'm
So yeah, we were
the
actually talking
secret.
about
True, the secret's out. I'm the producer.
right. Yeah. Who would have thought? Anyway, you have Corda and Wesley, right? A lot of people talking about Corda, and it's interesting because he's not played much, but when he's played, there's Damien. He's back. But yeah, when he's played, he had some really good results. Adelaide and Australian Open. He had championship point against Djokovic in Adelaide, made the quarters in Australia beating Medvedev and Hurkacz back to back. Had to retire unfortunately, but Wesley is a really tough opening round. He
I'll
very
just
much
say,
could
I'll
go
just say
out.
one
Hmm.
thing, Shrihari, and then I'll leave, and you two can discuss
Right,
this.
right, sure.
Corda's confidence is a little unusual. No, to hear a player say, "I think I'm one of the favourites for Wimbledon." Big
Yeah,
statement, and I'll leave that with you.
right.
I
I
think
think
he's right.
yeah,
I
maybe
do think he's
yeah,
right.
maybe. But he sort of backtracked, didn't he? After making that statement, he said, "Yeah, after losing to Alcaraz, he sort of said, yeah, it's just something that I said because he felt some rush of confidence." Uh, I don't know who he beat before saying that, but he made it to the
Oof.
he made it to the
Yeah, I cannot
quarterfinals.
remember
Before
now.
that, he lost to quarters or semis. Semis, right?
Semis, he
Semis,
lost to
yeah.
Alcaraz. Yeah, I was
Lost
actually
to Alcaraz
expecting
in the
this one to
semis.
be slightly closer. Like Alcaraz
Mhm.
probably had his best match of the week.
Yeah,
But yeah.
exactly. Because I
Mhm.
remember Corda beat him in Monte Carlo. As expected, he lost easily in RG last year. But again, like you mentioned, we would have expected at least a 3-7, but he was routine there. But yeah, like it, he has a pretty good chance. He made the fourth round 2 years ago as well. I'm not sure if he played last year, but in 2021 he made the fourth round. He lost to Hatchanov in that deciding set where they
Yeah.
were like what, some 8 or 9 breaks of serve. Um, so yeah, it was like 10-8 I think in the fifth he lost. Um, so yeah, I think he can play on grass. Decent enough draw, and look at the section he is in. You expect um, you can expect yeah, exactly. You can expect him to have a good chance of making the quarterfinals. um Looking at that section, really, I can see a lot of seed stumbling, especially the highest seed of that section, that is I don't want to say section because this entire
Hmm.
part is a section, so that side of this quarter, it's Tsitsipas and everyone else, really, you expect quarter to beat. um First round could be tricky, but again, like, I think he can lose, but I don't think he will. um
Yeah, I mean, back in Australia, everyone was saying that he was going to break the top 10 this year. And
mhm.
I don't know if that's still on just because he missed so much time. But like,
Yeah.
just based on what he showed in Queens, I think he's more or less back at that level. Of course, a guy who
Mhm.
just like polished up all of his weaknesses during the off season, or maybe even earlier. The finish to 2022 was pretty strong for him too. It's not
Yeah.
an easy draw. Like Vesely, Medjedovic in the second round, huge servers. I don't think
Mhm.
it's super easy, but I would still expect him to come through. And as you said, these seeds in this, I think we can call it section because like it's the whole quarter, and then you have just two sections in it, I suppose. And the seeds, the high seeds in this section, are super vulnerable. Nori, Tsitsipas, I just don't think of these guys as Nori maybe could win a few matches and get on a run. Tsitsipas, I don't think he's going deep. So yeah, it's such an opportunity for Korda. I totally get why he's everyone's dark horse, and like for me that also works. When it
Mhm.
comes to what she said about Tsitsipas Murray, I think that if Tsitsipas somehow beats Murray, although I don't think he would be likely to right now, he would have some sort of a chance against Shelton or Cressy at least. While Murray, he would actually lose to Shelton or Cressy, whereas Murray, I think he probably beats them. So like that
Yeah,
second round could be very meaningful. Murray always had such amazing jobs with the big servers. I know he lost to Isner at Wimbledon last year. Looks like he is in better form, better shape right now. Also, maybe this is like more low key, but when he played that Surbiton final a couple of weeks back, he played
yeah,
Rodionov, who over the course of the full week was just impossible to break. He plays Murray and he just gets like the serve just gets handled so easily. And that's what
yeah,
Murray has gotten us used to. Maybe this is one of the parts of his game that has kind of gotten worse after all the injuries, the hip resurfacing. But I do think that when he plays Shelton or Cressy here, he would actually be favored to beat them, whereas Tsitsipas would probably struggle with, yeah, as you mentioned, grass,
yeah.
little time on the backhand, no slice, no backhand return virtually. So
Yeah,
it's going to be really hard for him. And when it
that's
comes
true.
to that other half, I don't think Cerundolo Paul is as likely as some people in the chat seem to be suggesting. Like Cerundolo
Hmm.
against Lehechka or Ofner, I'm not sure he's favored there. I know
Hmm.
he's just won Eastburn, but like if these guys, got the same sort of draw, if they went on a run in Eastburn, I think they were capable of doing that too. Offner almost won the Wimbledon wildcard in Ilkley, ended up reaching the final, of course, losing to Kubler. I don't think his draw is as good as it was at Roland Garros, but like if he made another big run here, no one would be surprised probably. He also has a Wimbledon run in the past, 2017, which is probably why they still gave him the wild card, even though he lost in the Ilkley final. Raonic, maybe, like we just
Oh,
don't
yeah,
know,
we
right?
didn't mention Raonic at all. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, well, he played well. Where was it? Hertogenbosch? Yeah,
Hertogenbosch, yeah, Hertogenbosch.
uh, he beat Kecmanovic. I know that, and he lost the following match
Jordan
and pulled
Thompson,
out of
yeah,
Queens. Um,
was
but
also
yeah,
supposed to play Thompson in Queens, just like in Hertogenbosch, but then he withdrew. I think it was like a shoulder issue that he cited.
right. But if he's healthy, I mean, uh, yeah, that's Dennis Novak in the first round. Um, Obviously, I don't know if he. Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what will happen if he plays Tommy Paul. Um, but Serundolo, good chance to make the fourth round. I would say most likely from that part of the draw to make the fourth round. Uh, yeah, let's talk about the highest seed in this draw, Medvedev. Um, a lot of people have him losing to Greek Spore, which is interesting. Can happen. I'm not dismissing the possibility of that happening, because it's interesting. Medvedev on grass at Wimbledon specifically, I think all of his losses have been five setters. A couple of them,
Goffin,
yeah.
Bemelmans, right?
Yeah, Bemelmans. That was the one where he threw coins at the umpire after losing his 2017,
Yeah,
right after beating Wawrinka. That was his first ever main draw win in a slam in the first round. Uh,
Hurkacz, of
and
course, and 2018, who did he lose to?
Minorino.
Manarino, okay.
Yeah, and 19 was Goffin, of course. He was
Yeah,
up a break in the fifth. He lost. The one that would hurt most, I think, people sort of underplay the effect that loss specifically had on Medvedev, the Hurkacz match, because he was in cruise control. I would say definitely until suspension. I faced
yeah.
just one break point all match. He was super dominant on serve. He lost the second set in the tiebreaker, but he looked really comfortable. And the next day they show up on center court. Inexplicably he loses 8 of the next 11 games and he loses the match. Right? It's crazy how when you're by far the better player for most of four sets and you end up losing. That can definitely, and let's think about what kind of a chance that would have been to at least make the semis, because I don't think he was losing to Federer after beating Hurkacz. Um, And Berrettini in the semis, well, that's sort of a 50-50 because
He had a
Berrettini
pretty
is really
tough matchup with Roger, right? I mean, he was outplayed every single time, but of course we don't know how, the knee
yeah, they played the
issue.
first time they played was close in Shanghai.
Yeah, Shanghai, and
Yeah,
then
but
Basel was just
I
drastic,
I just
and Miami
the only
was
reason I didn't
awful.
see him losing to Federer was because Federer, we know he was on one leg pretty much. Oh,
In the
we knew
quarters,
after.
but like
Yeah,
in the first 4 matches, he actually looked pretty decent, right? At
he did.
least
Yeah.
let's say against Sonego and against Nori,
Mm.
not against
Yeah,
Manarino.
Sonego was his last, I think
Best
it was
match of
one
the
of,
week, yeah.
yeah, and best match. Yeah, he was with 2 sets to 1 down against Manarino in the first round.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that being said, would he like his chances more here? Because I mean, he should be doing. I think he's an underperformer on grass.
Yeah.
Uh, he should be doing a lot better than he is. But it's nice to see. I mean, I watched his press conference, and he is pretty motivated to do well because one, he missed last year's edition, and second is he's not done well at slams since making the final at the Australian Open last year. And especially this year, he mentioned for how good a season he's had outside slams. It's been disappointing, losing third round and first round. So if he has it together, he can definitely navigate these pretty tricky early rounds before the quarterfinals, I would say. But if he starts to unravel or capitulate in some of these matches, which he's done, he could go out. Things can happen really quickly on grass. But still, I think he will make the quarterfinals this time.
Yeah, I like for me, I've always thought that he's gonna win multiple Wimbledons. I don't know if that ship hasn't sailed
Mhm.
because, well,
It
2020 he
hasn't
couldn't
really, if you
play
look
it.
at the.
Yeah, I mean 2022 he of course couldn't play it either. I lost you there. I don't know if it's me or you. Um, yeah, I don't know if it's me or you, but I cannot really hear you right now. Hopefully it's gonna be better in a moment. I guess John also has that issue.
Sorry, just what you're talking about Medvedev, right? Were you?
Yeah.
Multiple Wimbledons. Sure, your camera's frozen, so I hear you perfectly, Damian. But just quickly on the Medvedev point, Mario, I think it's a pity he's not here today because he's not as convinced about Medvedev, grass, etc. So
I said that maybe that ship has sailed actually. So like
I know you
I'm not
said that, but
I'm not
I
convinced
think the
anymore.
broader point, Damien, is that
Uh-huh.
you
Yeah.
think the
Go ahead.
Medvedev game and grass should go hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I think Mario is more skeptical. Let's say that.
It's a shame we don't have him here then. But yeah, I just always thought that, with the big serve that he has, with the flat ball striking, amazing defense as well, which in recent years we've seen players make it work on grass courts. He should be doing better than he is, at least. That's a hilarious comment from Matthew. Yeah, Shihari, we still cannot hear you.
Yeah, it's okay. I think sure he's just got an internet issue. He'll be, I'm sure, back and firing on all cylinders shortly. Anybody else in this court? I'm just gonna have to open it up myself because I wasn't paying 100%
Yeah, I
attention.
just have to talk about Manarino and
Do it.
Fucsovics Grigspor as like potential threats to Medvedev. That's like the only thing we haven't addressed. I mean,
Cool.
Shihari addressed it. I did not. When it comes to Manarino, yeah, we'll see how the injury is. I'm not putting that much like into Medvedev's grass court season being pretty poor because, well, he played Bautista Agut, Manarino, one of these fellow flat hitters that he's always struggling against. They just get the ball very low and make him inject all the pace himself. It's a nightmare for him. However, yeah, after seeing this draw, I don't really think that Medvedev has like a very realistic chance of winning Wimbledon anymore. Because, well, this year at least, because yeah, he just has to play Manarino, one of his nightmare matchups in the second round, and Fucsovics Grigspor. I think this might be even an even bigger issue. I have like this prediction that not that Grigspor will beat him, like Srihari mentioned that some people think. I just think that the winner of Fucsovics Grigspor might beat him. Uh, because well, Fucsovics, Wimbledon quarterfinalist 2 years ago, one of the best backhand slices in the game, 100%. He really knifes it, and it's amazing. It's bound to make everyone uncomfortable. And Grigspor, as we already said, amazing results this year, amazing on the grass. Such a huge server as well, and yeah, I just think that all of these power, it can be very troubling to Medvedev as well. If Medvedev has to beat Manarino or Fucsovics, even if he comes through, it's going to be a struggle. He's going to have to spend a lot of time on the court, and it's just going to be something that he will have to problem solve in, and yeah, just find his way in these matches. Yeah, looks like your internet is still not fine. Still cannot really hear you.
Shall we go to the next part of the draw, Damian?
We can. I'll just say that my quarterfinal picks are Korda, and then the winner of Grigspor Fucsovics. I'm cheating, I know, but the winner of Grigspor Fucsovics is my pick to make the quarters.
Wow, a quarterfinal for Grigspor.
It could be Medvedev as well. Regardless of who it is, Medvedev, Fucsovics, or Grigspor, I would pick Korda to make the semis. That's what I'll say.
Oh wow, and then that would be, I'm guessing we'll come to the section shortly, but that would be Djokovic Korda semi-final, which I think
Alcaraz.
Alcaraz. Okay, sorry, wrong half. Okay, yeah, true. Okay, I just think that would have been more interesting. Actually, I just think Djokovic Korda.
Okay.
I just remember how Djokovic and Korda in Adelaide. I know it's a different surface and different time of the year, but that was a really good match. But anyway,
I left StreamYard. I turned off and turned on the internet on my PC. I hope it works now.
You're good now. You're good now. So
yeah,
actually,
I just wanted to mention one quick thing about Medvedev before we progress in the draw.
Sure.
If you notice, the players have been doing well progressively. It's the ones who've started gained more and more experience on grass, because the thing with grass is the season's so short. And the nature of the match is such that it can change so quickly. Upsets happen all of the time. And you have very few players who sort of do really well on grass. Like say Berrettini, for example, he's probably the best grass court player from his generation by far. But then that being said, I think if the grass court season was longer, I guess, and the more experience these players get, it would help at some point. And I think Medvedev, let's say he has some good results this season, I mean in Wimbledon here, and then next season, then maybe that puts him in a pretty good position. I guess so. Maybe the ship hasn't sailed completely, but you never know. I mean, I still think he can win Wimbledon once at least before he retires. I do have that happening before Medvedev retires. Hopefully he wins 3 of the 4, but we never know.
Who's your quarterfinal pick here? Medvedev and?
Right, I'll go with Medvedev, and I want to say Korda.
Okay. And also just to address, Jane Manarino was injured in the final, and in the first set he couldn't really move. So yeah, that was basically why Eubanks beat him so soundly. And of course, it would have been a very big surprise to just see this sort of a scoreline. If they were both 100%. I'll ask the production team, which I think you got to know in the last half hour or so, to show us the third quarter. Then, of course, this is the most, I would say, I don't know if it's really open, but it seems like it's the weakest one, which helps Djokovic. And who's gonna get out of this? What do we think about this?
I'll say one player has a really good chance at Shapovalov.
Ooh,
yeah. If you look at his draw, Lloyd Harris. Yeah, I mean that's like the walking red flag for him progressing in the draw, because he just has Shapo's number. But then Shapo did beat him in Halle recently, so I don't know if that'll help him here. Draw helps definitely, because Rude is someone, he's not even played on grass this season. He played that one match at Hurlingham, I think, against Popyrin. He did win, but that's the only practice he had, if you even want to call it that. Fritz, I'm not convinced at all. Just looking at his form at slams since that Wimbledon quarterfinal run, in general. He's not what he's made it. He's not made it past the third round, and that was at the RG.
Mm,
He lost to Cerundolo.
yeah, because Holtz
First,
and Popirin.
yeah, first round at the US Open, second round at the Australian Open, lost to Popirin. So I'm not gonna, and looking at the draw as well, it's not an easy draw at all.
For
Hanfman,
Fritz, but like if he beats Hanfman, who is he gonna lose to? Is it just the
yeah,
first
well,
round
he
that is
does
dangerous
have
for him?
right. I guess he does have Sin. He loses to Sinner, I think, in the
Yeah,
fourth
but
round.
like fourth round is already an acceptable result, right?
It is acceptable for the draw, yeah, for sure. But then Fritz is just sort of clinging on to the top 10 at the moment. A lot of the points that uh, he's still defending quite a few points. I would say Turin and probably towards the back end of the season where he won, I think, Tokyo and made the semis in Turin. But yeah, he made the quarters and at Indian Wells, so he was the defending champion. Um, and I guess the quarters in Miami as well, but like hasn't done too well outside of that this season, really. Um, so yeah, this like you mentioned, maybe I don't know if that is Elias Emer or Mikhail Emer against
Mikael,
Molchan. Mikhail,
Mikael,
okay,
Elias did not qualify.
right. I mean,
Elias
otherwise
lost
they would have
to
probably put an initial. Um,
yeah. Elias was in the qualifying and he lost to someone, Fabian Maroshan, I think, in the second round.
right. Oh, Oscar Orte is another player we should probably I think he's the one who will make the third round. Um,
Yeah, last year.
I don't think, yeah, Nishioka or I don't. I'm not seeing them.
You're saying that he's gonna make it this year. I second that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he made it. Well, he made the second round in 2021, lost to Murray in 5 sets.
Yeah.
Made the semis in Halle last year, right? Lost to Medvedev. So he does do pretty well in general on grass.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think he
His
beat
year has been like
Shapovalov one.
awful. His win-loss record before Wimbledon qualifying was 6-18.
Oh,
But
that's
he
rough.
qualified. He
Yeah, he
qualified,
did
and
qualify. That
you're
should
right.
help.
He is amazing on grass. So I
Yeah.
would put him in the third round here as well. I just don't know if in this form he would be a threat to Fritz. But in general, like last year, for sure he would be a threat to Fritz.
Yeah, I think Fritz lost early in every tournament he played, right? On grass this season.
Lost to McDonald's, right, in Eastbourne and in Queens. I can't remember, but yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, Sinner has Juan Manuel Cerundolo in the first round, and uh, yeah, Kitsmanovic could be tricky, but Altmaier in the third round potentially, but I don't know if he gets there. And on grass,
And on grass, yeah.
yeah, because he's the most comfortable on clay. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good draw for Sinner. But the biggest question mark for Sinner, I would say, in the first week of slams usually, or like the earlier stages of these big tournaments, is never the draw. It's always his fitness, his health. How is he feeling? And that's again a question mark because he retired in Halle against
Yeah.
Bublik. But I mean, he did practice with Djokovic on center court and whatnot. He looks fine for now. So I'm assuming, but if that's how it is, I expect him out of all of these players to make the semifinal really because of how comfortable he is on this surface and how much better. I mean, I don't see any glaring matchup issue against anyone in this section really for him. Uh, and yeah, I guess Shapovalov, again, really good chance. I don't know. The biggest question mark is Casper Ruud because it is a good draw, but it's grass. So how far does he make it is the question. Brody, again, he's a potential second round opponent that could be dangerous for him.
Yeah,
There's
like
Lloyd
Rude,
Harris.
we don't really know how much even like practice he got.
Yeah.
Based on his social media, we would say not much, but
Exactly.
I don't know if that tells the whole story. But yeah, I'm not
Mhm.
expecting Rude to make the fourth round here. I'm
Yeah, same here.
expecting one of
Yeah.
Shapovalov, Harris, or Barrer. Like I think Harris and Barrer are actually pretty similarly dangerous to Shapovalov. Harris,
Yeah.
Shapovalov, the head-to-head, I don't really care about. Like it's just not a matchup where I think there are any issues other than the guy serves well, the guy hits big.
Yeah,
And
it's the return of serve mainly, and
yeah.
on his own serve, he's just if he cuts out those double faults, I think he should be fine. But
Yeah. And
uh,
Haris, Barer, Shapovalov, like they're all just, players who will come out, take the ball early, serve huge.
yeah, we
Yeah, I just
saw
have
how
no clue who's going to win.
Barrer. Again, I don't want to use Tsitsipas as a metric for anything this grass season, to be honest, but he did push him in Halle, right? So,
And he had a good run in Eastbourne, making the semis.
oh yeah,
The
that's
guy
true.
is basically always good when it's fast, slick, low bouncing. So why not on grass? I mean, usually he just performs in indoor events in France, but this year it seems like he's finally starting to do it also
Yeah,
in some other faster conditions. Fritz, yeah, I think if he beats Hanfman, he probably makes the fourth round. Hanfman is the problem round. But then again, Hanfman, like over the course of his career, he also hasn't had that good of a grass record. And like, I think he's one of these, Jari type guys where his baseline game is actually better on clay. He also has that wicked kick serve, which on grass he won't really be able to use. So yeah, if Fritz beats Hanfman, he probably makes the fourth round. I agree with Otte being the likely pick to make the third round, just because I believe that he got a lot of momentum out of that Wimbledon qualifying run. Kepfer, not an easy first round though. He won Ilkley 4 years ago and is pretty good on grass as well. I think he made the semis in Nottingham this year. And yeah, Sinner, I think he just has a godlike draw. Like, this is basically the best he could have hoped for. Juan Manuel Cerundolo, the fact that they're playing on center court is really weird because this
yeah,
match
I
will last
know.
like an hour
Yeah,
and a half, probably.
exactly.
Kecmanovic, Schwartzman, no. I mean, Kecmanovic on grass, I just don't think he's a threat. Alice Evans, I guess, is the round that you would look at in regards to this being potentially a problem. But I don't like the fact that Quentin Alice chose to play Lyon and Blois after Roland Garros, stay on clay. I don't think that was a good decision, even though he ended up winning Blois and kind of making it work despite the first round exit in Lyon. And this is very weird to me because he actually did well on the grass last year as well. And Evans, I've been high on him a few times at Wimbledon, and he always just failed to deliver. And with the sort of year that he has, I don't think this is going to be the year when he actually changes that. But so you basically said already that Sinner and Shapovalov are your quarterfinal picks. I actually have a different one in the sort of second section, and it's Roberto Bautista Agut. Phenomenal grass court player, 4 years ago, Wimbledon semifinalist. Great style for it with the flat ball striking. I just think that he played well enough in Halle and also got a lot of confidence out of it that I could see it happening again. One question mark is like where he is physically right now, because this year, for the most part, it seemed like the decline kind of hit him hard.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just overrating that Halle run, but this is a very open section. Chorich is not that strong on grass, other than the
No, I
Halle
don't think.
title, of
Yeah, in
course.
slams especially, I'm not expecting much from Borna.
Yeah, Rude. The seeds,
yeah.
the top seeds just aren't strong at all. So yeah, that's why I'm going with Bautista Agut, and I'm actually going with Bautista Agut to make the semis as well.
Oh,
Boom.
interesting. Interesting.
But
Yeah, because I think if it's Shapovalov and Bautista Agut in the quarterfinal, I'm picking Shapo because
okay.
I'm just going by based on the fourth round they played 2 years ago, which was an easy win for Shapo. And I just think the matchup in general, it just plays to Shapo pretty well, and on the surface also. So yeah, I think that could happen for sure. Sinner and Shapovalov, and that's a fourth round, my bad, not the quarterfinal.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sinner and Chapo again. That would be very interesting because they played only once, and there was again in 2021 the first round of the Australian Open. Chapo won in 5 sets. Came from a set down also, so I think that would be a really it would be a really good match if that happened, and probably one of the more blockbuster quarterfinal matchups that we would have. From what if our predictions are anything to go by. So yeah, like you mentioned, it's not too much to go into here. I guess in this section, we just know who are the players we just don't expect to make it too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess this is the moment when I'll ask our production team to to show us the fourth quarter. The production team is already doing it, I see. So probably, guys, yeah, we have it right now on the screen. Andrei Rublev is the 7th seed, and of course Novak Djokovic is the 2nd seed. So is this quarter just boredom, and basically are we playing this game where it's like who gets to lose to Novak Djokovic?
Yeah, that's true. Kyrgios, I think he's losing to Goffin in the first round. It can
Me
happen.
too. Me too.
Right. Also, Bublik, again, he's playing McDonald, and we know that pattern of non-Federer Harley champions this decade, the past 10 years or so, losing in the first round of Wimbledon. I don't know, because Bublik, I think that's just it's just a coincidence, really, because he confirmed he's ready to go. Hasn't been ideal. My body's feeling okay. Well, whether or not we like the guy, if he's feeling okay physically, you would kind of expect him to win at least a few matches here, considering the draw. Um, Maybe, but again, I just think Goffin beats him in the first round. But if he does beat Goffin, that's a good section. If he gets Rublev in the third round, you kind of would like his chances, matchup and the surface, to be honest. Um, yeah, and also Bublik, I think he played, if his run in Halle is anything to go by, he played really good tennis, especially that match against Zverev. Very low percentage tennis, but at the same time he executed it so well. He was clutch also in the big moments, and he was facing break point when he was love 30 down many occasions in the second set. So yeah, I think I and also Felix is another player. The draw I don't think has been updated because Krajinovic is pulled
Yeah,
out and
Michael
someone else.
Moe, yeah.
Mo, yeah. So again, Felix.
Shame it's
if-
not Maroshan, by the way, because he's the next in line, and I think he'd beat Auger Aliassime. I don't think Mo is going to do it. But
Yeah, I don't.
Maroshan, it's a shame he's not in the draw. Maybe he will still make it. There's still a lot of time for anyone
Yeah,
else to withdraw.
yeah. As far as Felix is concerned, his season so far has been very similar to his 2021 season. Made the fourth round at Australia, lost first round at RG, although he just wasn't well. After Madrid, I think he lost early to Lajovic, and then he was unfit to really play RG. He lost, I think, comfortably to Fonini in the first round. Um, but if there is a tournament, if there is a moment for him to get back to form, get back to slowly back to his level, it would be this, considering the draw and considering how he feels on the surface. He's a former quarterfinalist. He's a two-time finalist in Stuttgart. He made a couple of semis at 500 level as well, so he can play on grass. Last year he lost to Cressy in the opening round. That's a nightmare of an opening round that you can get on the surface, really. So I have Felix making it, I want to say, at least third round, but if he plays Bublik, I think Bublik beats him, to be very honest. And Rublev, it really depends, because if Kyrgios is feeling fine and he somehow gets to Rublev, I might lean Kyrgios in that match. But yeah, in that part of the section, I have Bublik as the quarterfinalist. I don't know about you,
Okay.
but yeah.
For me, it's kind of a struggle. Bublik plays McDonald in the opening round. That's already kind of tough with the sort of aggressive, flat-hitting game of Maki. Wolf in the second round, big serves all round. I just have no clue in this one. I think if I have to say a name, it's just going to be a bold one again, and it's going to be David Goffin. He's had
Yeah,
a
I mean, he
number
was the
of big
quarterfinalist
runs.
last year.
Yeah,
So.
he's had a number of big runs at Wimbledon. I think he's the favorite over Kyrgios, but that's based on watching Kyrgios in Stuttgart and just how rushed he seemed, like how rushed the return of his to the court seemed. Baez, Barrios Vera is slightly dangerous, but probably not that much. And like if he was to play Rublev in the third round, when it comes to Rublev on grass, I just think he's pretty solid. but nothing spectacular. I don't
Yeah.
think he's a real threat to go really deep here. So I would expect that it's not going to be Auger-Aliassime or Rublev. I would probably say that like even more likely for me is Bublik, Goffin, Kyrgios, like some of these guys.
Yeah.
But then again, you know, Rublev especially is very capable of just cleaning it up if everyone else is, you know, not really up to par. And
Yeah. He does pretty
Auger-Aliassime,
well.
we
He's
just
pretty
don't know.
consistent, all things considered. But
Yeah,
it's got a sting for him because he's made a bunch of quarterfinals at slams, yet to make a semis,
7, I
and
think. Yeah,
yeah, 7 and multiple at AORG. Each of the tournaments where he's made the Wimbledon's the only tournament where he's not
yeah.
made the quarters. Likewise for Zverev and Medvedev. They have made quarters or better at every other slam except for this one. But I obviously I have Medvedev making into the quarterfinal. I don't know about Rublev. It really depends. There are some matches where I think he would lose if certain players get. What do you think of Karatsev? It's really interesting. On
Doesn't
grass.
seem like on grass he will be that good, right?
Yeah.
We haven't seen him play much on grass. And like right now, I am actually failing to come up with a single Aslan Karatsev match that I watched on grass. Well, he played 17 of them, won 5 of them. Well, I actually watched him against Medvedev, sure, in Mallorca. Yeah, I do
Yeah, he
remember
was
that
up to
now.
7 and he went on to lose.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
his grass court records are terrible, but then again, a lot of that is, well, maybe not a lot of that, but some of that is before his breakthrough. I don't know. I just don't think he's a threat for the quarters. But yeah, Rublev Karatsev would be a very interesting match. Honestly, Rublev Purcell is already a very interesting match. Big serve, lots of slicing. That's how Fucsovics beat Rublev a few years ago at Wimbledon. Just the problem is that since Roland Garros, Purcell was injured and then only played Eastbourne, played 1 match. So yeah, I just don't know if he has the rhythm for it. But also talking about that right side of this quarter, let's say, is there like any threat to Djokovic there? For me personally, I think that Hurkacz is not the ideal forefront opponent for him.
that's true. Yeah,
Musetti,
Hurkacz is one.
easier.
Yeah,
Hurkacz is
that's true.
probably
If it
not the guy
was
he wanted to see here. Yeah.
funny thing is Musetti, I think is 2-0 against Hurkacz. They've not played on grass.
They played on grass. They played on grass. Wimbledon
Did it?
2021. Yeah.
Oh,
Hurkacz
right.
won in
Okay.
straights in the opening round, I think.
My bad. Okay, because I know Musetti beat him.
Mm,
It was in Rome that year
but
or
Hurkacz
2020.
retired, right? Was
Yeah,
it?
Hurkacz
Was it the
retired,
retirement?
and
Yeah, I think so.
Musetti also beat him in Rotterdam last year. I remember that.
Oh yeah. But Hurkacz beat him at Wimbledon 2 years ago. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I expect Hurkacz honestly to make the 4th round, and he would be tricky for Novak. He was pretty tricky for him in 2019 as well.
And
First
that
two
was
sets.
like a
Yeah.
long while ago. Like I am in this church that says that Hurkacz has not improved in the past 2 years, but in the past
Yeah.
4 years, oh yes, he has.
Yeah. It's true.
Definitely.
Past 2 years, yeah, he's not improved much since that Miami
Yeah.
title run, Wimbledon semis. I still think he was fortunate, like I mentioned against Medvedev. I think if they finished the match on that day, I just don't see how Hurkacz should have won, to be very honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that being said, I think he's probably the toughest. Nakashima can be tricky, I think, for Djokovic in the second round. If
I've
he's
been sort of
someone,
like disillusioned with Nakashima recently. Like I feel like anytime he plays a top guy, it just is very clear that he doesn't have that sort of red line quality. It's just clear that he
yeah,
cannot play something he's not comfortable with, and against the top guys, it just doesn't cut it. Jordan Thompson is amazing on grass, but I just don't think it's that sort of caliber to trouble Djokovic.
yeah, he's one of those Dennis Kudla types, I think, who Djokovic probably beats pretty easily.
Yeah,
His game is very similar to Kudla's. He's like one of the players I
yeah,
think about. Wawrinka, I think loses to Rusuvori, to be very honest. I think Rusuvori is the one who makes the 3rd round there. Echeverry on grass, again, I'm not seeing it, but can he do well? I don't know. Zapata Miralles for sure not. No
yeah. I
way.
think Echeverry is winning his first round, but that's not because he's particularly strong
Yeah,
on grass.
exactly.
That's because his opponent isn't. Yeah.
Rusuvori is literally a Sinner prototype, so I think
Yeah.
he can do well in grass, and he's the one I think who plays Djokovic in the 3rd round. Yeah, the toughest, like you mentioned, would be Hurkacz. Not even Rublev. It would be I mean,
Yeah.
assuming Rublev doesn't make it there. Bublik, I would say, but best of 5, I don't know. Against Djokovic, best
I
of
think
3,
Hurkacz
maybe.
might be the toughest opponent until the semis, definitely. And
Yeah,
I would even say until the final. That's probably controversial, but
yeah, right.
it's
Uh, it
and
could.
Hurkacz also has a 0-5 head-to-head against Djokovic. But I think on grass that doesn't really matter
That
that
doesn't, because
much.
they played a very close, and like the
Yeah.
faster or the fastest surfaces, they played Bercy and Wimbledon. Those are
Yeah.
both. I mean, especially Bercy was a really close match. Hubi, was a mini breakup in the decider but lost. So yeah, I think he can definitely push Novak there, and someone who you would expect to trouble him for a much longer period of time. And Bublik can just turn off for like a set and a half, and you don't expect him to
Yeah.
have like a consistent level. I mean, I do have him in the quarters, but that's just mainly also got to do with who is there in that part of the draw.
Yeah.
I just don't think. I mean, Max, he takes a set of Djokovic, but he's serving lights out. Novak has a loose service game here or there, or maybe a tiebreaker even. But other than that, I don't see. If he's playing tennis of his life, maybe 5 sets. But other than that, I don't see him beating Novak. Absolutely, I don't see anybody honestly in this draw beating Novak. But we'll get to the later uh, sections of the draw. So we have obviously Djokovic and Bublik. For me, you pick Goffin, so I guess we could go on to the quarters and then semis, and
Yeah.
look at the draw
Absolutely.
from there. So the top half, who did we have again? We had Alcaraz and I forget who I picked.
Alcaraz, and you had Rune, and I had
Rune, right?
who the hell did I have?
Dimitrov, I think.
Dimitrov, yeah, Dimitrov, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's, I guess, an easy win for Alcaraz
Yeah.
either way.
Rune, I think he would win. I don't know if it'll be easy, but Dimitrov I expect to be an easy win.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Alcaraz Rune might be one of these rivalries like Alcaraz Sinner, where anytime they play, that it's actually going to be super close, even if against most of the tour it's not similar. But yeah, I would still expect him to win in both cases. And then in the second, you had Medvedev and Korda, and I had the winner of Greece for Fucsovics against Korda. So for me, it's a Korda win to the semis, and for you, I suppose the other way.
Yeah. If I were to pick, I don't know, Medvedev and Korda, because I'll go with Korda, honestly.
Australian Open, right?
Yes, and also just the confidence on the surface, and I want to think Medvedev flips it, but I think it is probably safer to go with Korda. You know what? I'm going to go with Medvedev. I think he flips the script from the Australian Open, and we'll have, I think, Alcaraz and Medvedev on the top half in the semis.
Yeah, and third quarter, I think you had Sinner Shapovalov, and I had Sinner Bautista Agut. I already said that Bautista Agut is my wild semi-final pick, and for you, would it be Sinner or Shapovalov?
I'll pick Sinner for that one.
Okay. And the bottom, of course, Djokovic against doesn't really matter who. Of course, is going to be Djokovic in the semis for both of us. So let's get back to the top half. Alcaraz Medvedev for you, and for me it was Alcaraz Korda. I mean, I'm sticking with Alcaraz to the final. How about you?
I'm picking Alcaraz and Djokovic in the final, and I would pick Djokovic to win that.
Boring, but I cannot really say anything else, of course. I do think, however, and I have to state this, I think if they actually play in the final, Alcaraz Djokovic, it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I think when they played the Roland Garros, of course, there's that whole degree of nerves and the cramping, but there was also like it was just so hard for Alcaraz to overwhelm him with the forehand, whereas on grass it's actually kind of easier. Maybe the fact that he hasn't like perfected the movement yet will not allow him to take the win, but I think with the serve, with the forehand, with just the sheer power on his ground strokes, I think he would keep it kind of closer. There was that moment.
Right, yeah. I just wanted to say it also boiled down to how each of the players returns the other's serve. I think Djokovic would be a lot better there than Alcaraz would on the return of serve on grass.
Yeah.
So just because not only does Djokovic, Djokovic obviously the best returner, but serve, he's a lot more comfortable. Especially Alcaraz. That's the one thing. If you really were to nitpick anything in his game right now, would be that he
first serve return.
Yeah, plays his serves that well. He doesn't double fault as much at all, but because he just has that reliable sort of kick serve, which is not going to damage much on grass at all. I don't think.
No.
But yeah, but he does. He has a lot of speed behind that serve. I remember he served, I think, 30 or 31 aces against Struff last year in the first round. That's probably his best serving performance, at least so far in his career. But
Yeah.
yeah, other than that, yeah, I think that's gonna be the biggest deciding factor. So it probably it would for the sole purpose of for the sole reason being Alcaraz will handle his nerves a lot better this time. I think it would be closer than RG because of course RG wasn't really close because there was there was the
Oh, it was
second half
close
of that match
until the injury, right?
until the
Until the
injury,
injury, it was
the
close.
cramp.
You could even argue that Alcaraz had the momentum going into the
Yeah, he
third.
did at that point because
He was hitting
Djokovic.
him some amazing forehands finally, like
Yeah, and
actually
then
getting to
that, it
dominate
was game
the
point when
Rollies.
it clicked. Something
Yeah.
clicked for him. He started cramping and all of that. So yeah, he did have the momentum for sure. Oh, that's Novak and Alcaraz. That's nice. So he did definitely have the momentum there. Having obviously Djokovic came out of that 5-4 game love 40, but then he got broken to love, and Alcaraz looked the physically in better shape player. But then that's when he won just one game from the remaining 10 or 11. So that for that reason alone, definitely going to be closer. I can see Alcaraz taking a set or two, but I just think it's going to boil down to what we just discussed. And of course, Wimbledon, that's the one thing where especially in the recent times, like the first week's pretty much almost always more interesting than the second week. Especially the predictability
That's
factor.
always the case. That's always the case for me.
Right. Yeah. Wimbledon, especially because you see a lot of seeds tumbling. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think AO 2022 was very exciting in the second week because we had a lot of big matchups in the quarters and semis and so on. But yeah, Wimbledon, you do have seeds tumbling and the predictability factor and whatnot, which maybe is overblown a bit because people don't really put too much emphasis in the fact that 2018 and 19 with Djokovic pretty much like snatched victory from the jaws of defeat both of those years.
Yeah, but it was
So
two guys who are not playing anymore. Well,
that's
one of
true.
them will be back or not, but one
Yeah,
of
we
them
don't know that yet. Hopefully,
they're
we'll be
not at
back.
Wimbledon this year at least.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
yeah, so that's why it's kind of when you look at these full 4 years, yeah, there's been a couple of crackers for Djokovic, like matches that he actually had to fight for, but they were against Federer and Nadal. So
Exactly. And if you were to pick one, it would be the match against Sinner, but that's a very weird kind of
yeah,
dynamic.
it was
Yeah, the only
never.
other five setter really, because it's
Yeah,
like there were two different matches, like the first two
yeah.
sets, and then
And
after that,
similarly, that match against Nori, although there, of course, just 4 sets, but that was
yeah.
like basically the
But
same.
then you just knew that it's not gonna last.
Yeah.
Novak's gonna, yeah.
Novak
But
gets the early break in the third set, and then it's never really close anymore. So
yeah,
I
we
guess,
both have Alcaraz beating Medvedev in the first semis.
Oh no, I actually had Korda.
You don't have Medvedev. You don't have Medvedev. I have
I had
Medvedev.
Korda, but I would still go with Alcaraz. So.
Right. Yeah. So let me rephrase it. If it is Alcaraz and Medvedev, you would go with Alcaraz. But would it be? Yeah, I don't know. Also, because I think it would be a lot closer than the Indian Wells final for sure.
Now, honestly, when I just think about how Alcaraz played in this match, he can do it again at Wimbledon. Maybe it's even easier for him. Serving volleying out wide constantly. Just also, just pushing Medvedev into all these uncomfortable patterns, like luring him forward a little bit, maybe with the backhand slice that he had in Queens. Like maybe it would be close because it's kind of hard for it to be easier than Indian Wells. But
yeah, exactly. Indian Wells was a blowout because Medvedev didn't even have a break point, and
Alcaraz has great tactics for Medvedev, really,
He
and
does, he
like
does.
these tactics are very natural for him. When Sinner tried to replicate it, sort of in Miami, you could see that it's just not
Yeah,
what he
but
is
he
used
doesn't
to.
have a
Alcaraz is
backhand
actually
drop shot.
used.
He just
Yeah,
tries to drop shot from the
he lost all
forehand.
the points where he played the when he played the drop shot in that Miami
Yeah,
final. So.
and also it's one thing that I mean we saw with Nadal and Medvedev also. The first match that they played was not at all close, and then they played a very close match in New York, like a
Yeah.
month later or a few weeks later. So I do think that Medvedev, if he's not gonna lose easily to the same player multiple times, I just think that. But then if you look at the tennis, and I did go back and watch that Alcaraz, and why do you all rate? He's 22.
I don't think he has very little grass pedigree at all.
Yeah, I don't
He
think
had
so
a
either.
fantastic Wimbledon in 2021, Halle quarterfinal. Queens, he was in the semis, and yeah, why not? I mean, he just kind of
Exactly.
seems like in Queens, he seemed like he could be back to that top 10-ish form that he showed in Australia very quickly. He basically has no weaknesses in his game anymore.
Yeah.
Like someone asked me recently, what's Korda's weakness? And I basically started talking about what he had like the year before. And then I said, right now I can't really tell you. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean, it
Let's
was
let
his serve, but then
It
he's
was his
got a lot
serve,
more
but
juice on his serve
yeah,
now also.
it
And
was the fact that the forehand was sometimes not a weapon. It was definitely also some mental stuff, like not performing under pressure. And right now he's doing all of that much better.
exactly,
So,
yeah.
oh
And also, Adelaide, he pushed Djokovic at
yeah,
championship point.
had much, but
Uh,
yeah.
did he beat someone else before that, didn't he? Another top
He
seed.
beat four of the four players before that, I think.
Right, yeah.
No, I can't remember who it was. Like a Rublev,
Yeah,
maybe. No, was it Sinner? Maybe. Yeah,
I think
Sinner,
Sinner, yeah.
Sinner,
Sinner.
Sinner. Yeah, Sinner in the quarters. Yeah, Bautista, Agut, Murray, and Nishioka, but that was via retirement.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, we expect him to beat Murray. But yeah, it was Sinner was one of them. Um, but yeah, Korda, it was unfortunate that he was out for so long after the start of the season that he had. But yeah, I still do think Alcaraz most likely beats Medvedev. But if Medvedev can beat Alcaraz in any kind of court, it would be on grass or like really fast hard court, like the North America. I don't want to say North American hard courts because the Indian Wells and Miami also are. I want to say the U.S. Open series, like Canada
Mm-hmm.
and Cincinnati, U.S. Open.
Okay.
But yeah, Djokovic Alcaraz final, I guess, for both of us. Djokovic winning it.
All right, and I guess that's where we're gonna finish it then. Thank you,
Yeah.
Srihari, for subbing in for Mario. And yeah, I think it was a very good episode as
It
usual.
was.
90 minutes, lots of talk about the Wimbledon draw. I hope you enjoyed it. When it comes to talking tennis content, I'm sure there's going to be some commentaries coming up, and also, of course, the last ball drop show, which is going to be after the last ball drops at Wimbledon every single day
Exactly.
until like the quarters or the fourth round. I think the first 2 days are me and Vansh on Monday and Tuesday. So I'll see you guys there. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to see Srihari on the channel soon as well. And yeah, thanks for the comments, guys, in the chat. And yeah, fun to talk to you always.
Thanks to everyone for joining, and thank you, Damian, for steering this show. And I hope to see you soon as well.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.